Hello, my ladies, my gays, my theys, and the men who get it. Welcome back to the F the Nice Guy podcast. Today, I am beyond excited because I have as my guest the incredible Jennifer Esposito. Now, you've seen her in so many movies like Summer of Sam, Crash. You've seen her across multiple television series, and now we have her in a new light, which is she is the writer, director, and stars in the award-winning movie Fresh Kills.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. Any kind of support for the film really means the world to me. So I thank you.
I cannot even say, like, I wanted to watch your movie just on the sole premise of this is a woman-made film, like just supporting women in the arts. And then I actually saw it. And I made a video. I was sobbing hysterically multiple times watching this film. I found myself so touched, and particularly in the crime family genre, I feel like the story's been told in a lot of ways. And this was such a unique take to see the women, the complexity of the women and what they suffer and the way that they're controlled and coerced and really contorted in order to survive and how they rise above it.
Yes.
So I would love to hear like what inspired you to tell this story.
Well, thank you, because that's yes to all of those things. And it was growing up surrounded by or the young women that were my age. I was born in Brooklyn, moved to Staten Island when I think I was around 10 or 8 or 9. And then the girls growing up with me, that was their family, mostly their fathers. And the violence I saw from these young women and ran from these young women, they were beyond aggressive. It was something that really, even as a young girl, really stayed with me and shocked me. And I would think like, why are they so angry? And it really, really stayed with me in a way that my brain kept always going back to it. So when I left at 18, I left Staten Island to go and, do my thing, become an actor. I realized through the years how much that still stayed with me. And I kept thinking, why? Like, my family isn't from that. I had my own stuff with my family, but what I kept coming back to was that they were trapped. They didn't have a voice of their own. They were born into something that they didn't choose. And I I felt sympathy for that, but I also felt the same because my voice and what I was being told of who I was in this industry, especially in the beginning, well, all throughout, but in the beginning, they like to put you in a box.
Sure.
You're this, and then just being female, not even in the business, just being female. And then the
Right.
ceiling was here, and you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to, get married and have kids, and you're supposed to, all the supposed tos that we get put on as women. And I felt their rage to be my own. So while this is not my family, this is definitely my voice and my story that happened to be very similar to what they were dealing with. And I thought, putting this story of trying to find a voice in a world that tells you to stay quiet, to put that in a mafia world where the rules are really clear. Like up
Hmm.
until recently, our world wasn't as clear. We had signs, we saw it like, oh no, and we'd hear, there's equality for women and things are getting better. And I would always be like, nah, and you feel so gaslit. Now it's clear. It's clear. We don't care about you, your health, your ambitions. Go home and make babies. Like it's very clear now.
Yeah.
So for that, I'm almost like, okay, now it's so clear. The
Yeah.
writing is on the wall, all the stuff and the times I thought, is it me? No, it's clear. So it really is so much more than a mafia movie. But on the other hand, being Italian and always seeing women in anything to do with Italian culture were always mafia women or on a pole in the back
Mm-hmm.
of the mafia men, and we they never have a voice. And I thought that just isn't okay with me. And like, so let me write and give these women a voice as they should have in many of the movies we've seen in the past, but they don't.
I think that's such an incredible point. I mean, just in these movies alone, we rarely see how the men impact the women. Like they're almost like set dressing. We're not
That's
seeing,
exactly right.
their character. And there is such a gray area to them because they're having to do things that they probably don't want to do, and yet they're doing them for survival. They're doing them for their family. And
That's right.
I love the way you talk about being in a box, right? Because when I was watching this film, I started feeling this sense of claustrophobia.
And that's all on purpose. That's good.
100%, a hundred
Yeah.
percent. And I knew that, but it was like you actually feel as the viewer the walls coming in on Rose particularly. And I
Yeah.
felt this like, I'm trying to catch my breath. And it's like the way that you capture that emotion of you are being boxed in slowly and your choices are getting fewer and fewer by the minute. I think it's interesting that it really does go across not just that experience of that woman and that family, but the experience of women, especially now.
And that's exactly it. I have another podcast tomorrow and it's another female artist, and she left me a message today and she's like, your movie is so important for women and so important, especially right now. And I've always felt this way because I just I knew that what I was feeling about having a voice in a world that really keeps telling you, and especially if you're a woman who speaks up and like
Hmm.
wants a career and want like anything other than at home having children, it's not an easy road. And I knew that it would hit a chord. And but going into this experience where we are currently, I knew that this really had purpose, and then it makes it really clear as to why it was pushed aside so clearly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I would love to talk about that experience because
Mhm.
you have this amazing movie. I love the script. I don't know how many liberties were taken, but the script as performed is so beautiful. Like this, there's a subtlety to the way that you write. I actually noticed it in the way that you act as well, where you are able to convey so much emotion with a look. I think about at the table when you realize you've moved next to his associate, and you
Yep.
just have this look. And I noticed that in your writing as well, where you don't, hit people over the head with it. It's just you get them to feel in the moment like this is the subtlety and this is the way that these men maneuver and the way that they manipulate. And then you have the music that you picked with it, the cinematography, everything is so on point.
Thank
And yet
you.
you receive this pushback and this resistance. So I'd love
Beyond.
to talk about that
Yeah.
experience.
It feels very deliberate.
Mm,
Because like I said, and the experience you had watching the film, the amount of people, not only women have had, because everybody feels that like boot on the back of their neck, most in this culture. It's
hmm.
the 1% and then it's everyone else. So a lot of people can relate. And yes, especially women, but men and women write me daily to tell me how important and how much this meant to them. So when you think about that, I think our industry unfortunately likes to keep people numb and dumb. And they also keep them in a very, I mean, if you look at some of the things that are big right now and women in the front and center, they're really still so derogatory. It's not even funny.
Hmm.
It's not even funny. Or just the way, again, men view women and like all we talk about is either being saved or the Cinderella story or sexuality or beauty or men, relationship. It's like we actually there's other things.
Right.
And this movie also came from a deep frustration because being on the other side of things of being an actor, doing, roles that didn't feel completely fleshed out because
Mm-hmm.
just servicing the main lead, which was usually a man.
Right.
I just wanted to write fully at characters, all of them, from the
Mm-hmm.
men to the smaller characters to the bigger characters, all of them. Like even Allie, who plays the cousin,
Mm-hmm.
like a full character. He has his wants and his needs, and that came from, being an actor for so many years and feeling like a lot of the other roles other than the lead were underserviced. So, but yeah, trying to get this made, I think it was 2 years of asking people for money. It was so absolutely soul crushing. I remember the last day that I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I tried everything. I was doing the first to use NFTs to try and
Mm-hmm.
fund the movie. I did some fundraising. I did some crowd fund. I did all of it. And I remember the last day, it was like, seriously, it was probably my 500 meetings deep
Oh
of
my
like
gosh.
asking people for money. And it was just, there was four men on, I don't hate men at all. I do think they're unwilling to maybe uh, give over some of the space.
Mm-hmm.
However, I was on a call with four men, and about the money, and I go into, and I'm very passionate about this project. I've been writing this for a long time. And I wasn't saying it because of me. I was saying because I knew I had something different that we haven't seen. And I was really passionate about it. And in the middle of me, like literally telling them the movie, like, and this and then that, and the music and the whys and he went, "You're just so passionate, aren't you?" And I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't, because you would never stop and say that to a dude. Never in a million.
No.
And I got off the thing and I just was so depleted. And I thought, who gives these people the right to tell me how and when I can live my life and create my art?
Right.
Like, how is this okay?
Right.
And I thought, I gotta do something. And that's when, I was like, am I at the end of my life, am I gonna say, wow, I'm glad my house was paid off, or wow, I made this thing that has meant so much to me. And I wind up, taking money out of my home to be able to do this and greenlit myself. And listen, I'm still paying for it, and I may pay for the rest of my life, but I will say, anybody listening, there is nothing like standing up for who and what you believe in and going forward without the permission of the world, and then saying, I did it. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like it. I will never regret doing this movie. I am so deeply proud of it. I cannot say it doesn't kill me to my core that it didn't get recognized further. It has zero to do with recognition of for awards or even money. It has to do with the quality of the work. And I just wanted to reach as many people as it can because it really does hit them. And the injustice of that really makes me sad because it's not only me, it's so many other great indie movies that you'll never see. And it's really not okay.
I mean, I cannot imagine how frustrating that was in the moment to be, this project which you have since you were 16, right? Like you've been working and putting all of this time and energy, and a man stops you in the middle. To your point, be quiet for a second. I would like to speak. And then the patronizing. You're just a little, it's almost like saying you're a passionate little thing, aren't you?
It's honestly, it's saying, it's on what it is saying. It's like, oh, you would be a pain in the ass because you know a lot and
Yeah.
like the way you're speaking and this kind of doesn't work for me. It's like, I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
I know too much, to this, to that, to the, and it's just like, I'm done, man. I'm done. It just is, like I said, just see past that. See
Yeah.
past that and see the work. That's
Yeah.
all I ask. Like, I don't want to be a female filmmaker. I don't want to be a female director. I'm just me. It just base it on the work. It actually said it in two different reviews, really beautiful reviews from men.
Hmm.
That if she was a he, me, she would be at every award show from here until next year. So it's painful to hear and to see. Again, not only for me, but for us all.
Yeah.
That's like that's deep. That's really deep.
And especially, to your point of being someone who was boxing, you have this, not just this incredible movie, this incredible talent, your ability to write and direct, and having people just basically say, no, no, not you. We don't want the passionate woman, we don't need any of that. So what was the experience like then sitting in that director's chair and starting the process and really beginning this film? What did that feel like for you?
Yeah, I did have a few smaller investors that helped me a great deal,
Sure.
so I don't forget them. Um, but the journey this took was so insane. So I had put money in before, and then I had put money in after
Mm,
from someone that really drove this film into almost the mountain. And yeah, the amount of times this film should have died. I had three female producers that helped me pull this over the line, and
wow.
75% crew was female as well. Um,
Wow.
but I'll tell you, everyone always asks, like, how did you write, direct, produce, and act and all that? How was it crazy? And honestly, no,
Wow.
that is not the crazy part because that's in the art. That's the
Sure.
beauty.
Right.
The crazy part is the business part.
Hmm.
When you're sitting there looking at reviews that say from RogerEbert.com, this is the best mafia movie since The Godfather, to Daily Beast, this is the best mafia film in ages, to this stands right alongside Scorsese's Mean Streets, like reviews like insane, and 93 or 4 on Rotten Tomatoes, and 98 from the audience, 94 from the critics. And then you're not working,
Right.
people don't know about your film. It's uh it's definitely hard to swallow. It's definitely really hard to swallow.
Sexism in the industry is, there's no question how rampant it is and how many talented people get cast aside because of that.
Mhm.
So I wonder what message from your film, because there's so much to pull from your film,
Mhm.
but for the people who may be interested in watching, like, what is the message of your film that they need to hear and that they need to see?
Like we talked about, it's definitely finding a voice in a world
Hmm.
that tells you not to have one. And I think that is something, especially now,
Yeah.
that we really understand. But even more so, it's going with what you know about you and what you want for your life, regardless of what the world is telling you, regardless of what your family is telling you, regardless of what anything around you is telling you. And what do you need to do to get what you need in your life to live your truth? And it has given so many people, like the amount of people that have written me and said, I am Rose. Rose is, for people that don't know, the lead character's name, and just said, I am Rose because of her journey.
Hmm.
What she finds towards the end, that's been really, really beautiful.
Without revealing too much, I'm trying not to reveal too many things because there's so many twists and turns. I'm like, I don't want to reveal too many things.
Yeah.
How did you really figure out what Rose's journey was going to be? Because I know you talked about kind of the aggressive the aggressive ways that these young girls that you were interacting with behaved, which I'm sensing more of the Connie character, right? Where
Mhm.
it, kind of abrupt and taking out whatever feelings were going on in that aggression. And then you have Rose, right, who is a totally different breed, right? She reacts and responds differently. You see
Mhm.
her pull back a little bit more and
Mhm.
really reflective. And there's the point in the film where they say you have so much to say you can't speak, right? So I just wondered, where did you find that character and how to take her on the journey through the film?
I love this question, and I get similar questions like this, and I always say the same, which is very, very dear to me. Who I am within is Rose. Who I've
Mm,
had to become is Connie. And I think many, many women
wow.
have to do this. Who we are is maybe an easier, gentler, but if you want to get anywhere, be anywhere, there is no other way. And it's so deeply unfortunate that that has to be. But I am both of those girls, 100, 100%.
That about knocked me out of my chair. That realization, which is so true because you do have to do that. And especially to your point, like if you want anything done, there's so much resistance
So much.
at every step
So
of the
much.
way. You have to push forward. And then you get called aggressive, and then you
Right,
get called, and
right.
then you get put in a box to your
That's right.
point.
That's right.
I also really love your character in this movie because we see this very interesting duality with her
Mhm.
where she is so fun and like interesting, and there's a light to her at certain moments where you can see a joy, and
Mhm.
then you see that subdued aspect of her, how she has to numb herself to survive. Where did you get the inspiration? Is that someone that you knew?
It is someone I know, and
Okay.
it was something that I grew up around, and such a painful character,
Mm,
um, but such a complex character, and such, um, there's so much there, and I think we see this with I think we see it now, especially in our climate, with
hmm
women, the whole women helping women thing. I unfortunately don't buy it and don't think we're there, especially as you can see across the board, women voting against their gender. There is something in Francine, who I play,
hmm
that makes me understand them slightly.
Yeah.
They don't have the tools to better or to go forward themselves. And in that, there's a real hatred and anger towards jealousy for those who are. So it's
hmm
like crabs in a bucket, like, I'm not out. Why are you out? Pull back here. And I don't even think it's conscious sometimes,
hmm
because Francine did not want the best for her daughter. First of all, she didn't have the tools to teach
Right.
her daughter more because she didn't have that. So there's that. But then there's also, I really love you, but don't leave me. And then there is that piece of like, well, why do you get to do all these things and not me? And I think we see that aspect with women a lot, and it's really sad. I have a little school that I started. I teach. I've taught acting throughout my life, but I also teach writing now. But they're the classes, they've become very, not only writing, but they're very internal, and it's why I'm saying this, because I formed from that a community for the women. And it is it is amazing to me because I'm very aware of it, because I've been involved in some very big women's groups, and there's always the same issues. And
Mm,
it makes me so sad. And even having this community, I see it when it starts to rear its head of like, there's only one spot, or
right.
or I want to I or what about me? And like, it's so sad, but again, I have compassion for it because it's been the way we've been raised to completely have to fight for the one chair or for the attention or for the we have been so conditioned that you have to have compassion and try and say, do you see what you're doing? You're like hurting another woman. Because I do believe if women actually really all got together, we'd be in a very different place. But I think we have a long road to go.
I
Yeah.
agree with you. As someone who talks about misogyny and ends up in arguments with women about misogyny, I totally see that. And I love that you talk about the duality between really loving her children and also don't leave me. Because I won't reveal the specifics of the scene, but there are a couple scenes that I found particularly heart-wrenching with Francine and Rose, where, we see so many touching scenes with them where they're really bonding. She's the ally for Rose, she's the fun in a lot of the moments. And then there's moments whenever Rose is getting too close to leaving, she turns on her so quickly and so coldly.
Old.
And
Yes.
I love your performance because I feel like you have a natural like warmth to the way that you like you're acting, and just who you are as a person comes through. And the way you just shut it off the second she wanted to move or get out or have an opportunity. It was so real.
So perceptive. You're absolutely right. And this person that I knew, that's what that was. It was one look, and you were like, oh, I'm on the wrong side of the fence all of a
Yeah.
sudden. And it was really quick. And that was
Yeah.
the other thing when people were like, why did you want to put yourself in this, role? And I thought, to be honest, it was like, because nobody can do it like me. And I'm not saying that as my ability. I'm saying is because I can't explain to you the
Yep.
intricacies of this person because I've known this person my whole life,
Yep.
how this person can change in a second, in a fraction of a second to like, I'm your best friend, I'm your worst nightmare, like this,
Mm-hmm.
seamlessly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we have too much work to do, and this is a fast moving, low budget movie we filmed in 21 days. Like, I don't have the time.
I
I'm just gonna
can't
put
do
myself in it and we're just gonna move because, and it was like that. I'd be like, okay, put the camera here and this, and I'm looking at the monitor, and then it'd be like, okay, action. And then I'd be in it and like, okay, cut. And there's not a lot of room on independent films to like six
sure.
takes. Like sometimes Rose, Emily Bader, who kills me that Emily Bader and Odessa Azion, who played Connie, weren't recognized for this film. That makes me violently angry
Yeah.
because I see who gets nominated and it's like, no, those two were robbed. Their performances are so extraordinary. This is not
Mm-hmm.
easy work, and they killed it. They
Yeah.
are so fantastic. And to see these young women take on these roles, it just, like I said, Emily had one or two takes at times. She had one or two takes.
Oh
This
my
woman,
God.
yes. So when you see the movie, realize that this girl had one or two takes. It was incredible. It was incredible to see them come to life, bring to life like people I've been writing for
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
I was blown away by their performances. And not that I don't think I know young actors can do amazing things, but the two of them, they were
No,
so powerful.
brilliant.
There was such a complexity to what they
Yep.
did. It would
Yep.
be, there are ways to play those types of characters that I think so many scripts do as a one note thing. There's an angry and a quiet one, and they're
That's right.
sisters.
That's
And
right.
and not only does the script add that depth, but their performances.
Yep.
And you capture the dynamic of the mom and daughter split,
Hmm.
where it's
Hmm.
like, I love you, but also stay,
Hmm.
which is it almost feels like the suffocating nature of it, like, no, no, stay with me, like,
Yep.
sleep, let's go to sleep together, let's
Yep.
lull ourselves. And she does literally with
Yep.
medication, she's really lulling
That's
both
right.
of them. And then you have the sisters and how they're together, and then moments where there's that divide and you see like the choice of I have to get out of this and I am violently going to stay in this. And if you threaten me, you're a problem now.
That's right.
How did you get that dynamic so perfect there? Or how was that to direct, I guess, to really get that dynamic?
It has to start on the page. It
Yeah,
has to start on the page. And being an actor, I would literally be every role as I was writing it. Everything comes from character and the
sure.
whys. That's what actually interests me in acting is not the doing of it. It's actually the figuring out why people do what they do. So it's in the writing. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's always coming from a place of, what do I want and what do I need?
Sure.
And for Rose, what she wanted was to love and be with her family. She wanted to please her family. What she needed, which is like, what I need is I need air to breathe, to
Sure.
stay alive. She needed freedom. So when those two things go up against each other, and Connie's her best friend. Like she doesn't want to piss her off. And what Connie needs, what she wants is to keep her family safe.
Mm-hmm.
And what she needs is to never, never, ever, ever talk about the truth. Like we'll never talk about what's actually going on. She cannot and will not. And that comes from an incredible amount of pain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the toughness actually sits on top of the pain. And Odessa, I, she's just a phenomenal actress. Phenomenal.
Odessa's performance really struck me. I just, again, like, I think anger is so easy to maybe make like one note or just as aggressive as
100%.
but she has there's just like strength and fragility into it and like you can feel to your point the depth of what's barely underneath that.
And that's it. That was when like that when I was casting. I kept saying like this is not angry. Like this is not like you said, there's not like yeah, you can yell. That's not this. This is like a deep, this is a rage. This is an
Mm,
ancestral, generational, guttural rage that you really need to understand as the actor, as a person. You can't act what she did. You have to connect it to something deeper, which she did beautifully, as did Emily. Emily had the harder job of the two because, she didn't have much to say sometimes.
mm-hmm.
And she had to, expose what she's thinking and feeling without saying a word. And that is a really complex thing to do. And she did it beautifully, both of them.
Yeah, I mean watch this movie for the love of God but it's so there everybody is so amazing. The complexity of every single character is so unique and powerful. There's not a single character that is a toss away character. But one thing I do want to talk about is what I found really interesting is, this podcast we talk a lot about nice guys, in quotes, meaning like men who use the veil of niceness to get what they want and manipulate.
Hmm.
And while like I would never think about someone in a crime family as they're being nice, I don't think anybody accused his character of being nice, right? But what he does do is he uses the veil of family. A family man. I'm a family man. Everything's for the family, even the most egregious, horrible acts. That's
Hmm.
really what he says. Everyone has to be quiet and do what they can for the family. So I'm interested to know how you came to that take on the character because it's not one I've seen portrayed very often.
Hmm. Hmm. I did know men like this, and it's a lot more complex than you would believe, and they really are about their family. Like
Hmm.
that's not a lie, and it's not something they're trying to fake. Like
Hmm.
they are family people, and I also, you know, gave that underlying to Joe, brilliantly played by Dominic Lombardozzi. I would say to him, you're not mafia, you're dad.
Mm,
Your dad. That's something you do. So if you
right.
can see he's a person as well.
Hmm.
And that's the other thing. in the beginning when I had one or two producers were like, I really think, we need to see Joe be violent. We need to, and I was like, absolutely not, because Rose and the girls, they don't see their father that way. This is dad.
Yeah.
That's my father. He does his business, but he comes home and he's my father. So
Hmm.
that's the issue
Right.
there. That's the issue there is like, I can't believe what I'm hearing outside about my father. He's my father, but I know something about him scares me, and I'm not quite sure what it is. So we're walking that line with Rose, figuring out, wait a minute, what's going on here? So I never wanted to portray him as anything but a dad and a family man. And again, not making the right decisions. And
Yeah.
again, looking at like if you look at Allie, the cousin, he had no choice. And maybe Joe had no choice. Boys, just like young girls, they don't have
Right.
a choice to be softer or not get into this line of work if their dads are in this line of work. It's not really a choice.
Right.
So I tried to make him extremely human, and I just kept saying to Dominic, "You're dad.
Right.
That's it.
You're just
Be
dad.
dad. That's it." And he meant what he said. Like
Yeah.
he meant it. Like
Yeah.
he loved his girls. But he also was involved in a world that he could not get out of.
I love the way that it all plays out because you see little glimpses of that world, right? But it is the family. Like you could miss it. It's not explicitly talked about. It's these hints, glimpses. Something doesn't feel right here.
Right.
And while watching it, I feel like you experience the same confusion and uneasiness. And I feel like that is such an impactful statement, not only just in the sense of this particular family, but also there are so many women who live experiences where they feel that pressure and that something's not right. I don't know what it is. I don't feel like I'm safe. I don't feel like I'm being told everything.
That's right.
I just think that's a powerful statement to acknowledge that like
Mhm.
there are times that something's not right and it's not explicit and it's not being said to
That's
you.
right. That's right. That's right. Look at what we were just talking about earlier. It's like the years and the years that I was like, is it me? Is it me feeling like there's like not this is happening because I'm female or I'm a certain type of female? And it'd be like, no, no. And it's no, I was correct. I was correct. But it's that
Mm,
gaslighting that that really starts to make you doubt your sanity and your inner voice. And I did this intentionally again to keep you with Rose in the discovery of like, who is my family? What is this? Like,
right.
why am I feeling scared all the time? I would always give them the note. You're at a 10 with scared. You're always scared. Always, always. Connie adjusted one way and Rose adjusted the other. Always scared. I walked around always scared. I was scared in my house. I was scared outside of my house. And it really makes you grow up a certain way. You're
Yeah.
constantly scared.
I mean, it really comes through, and again, like the ways that it expresses itself being so unique to each person and what they're trying to accomplish, what they really, to your point, what they need versus what they want as a viewer, like, and someone who, I have my own trauma, as someone who talks about trauma and talks to a lot of women like about what they've experienced, it hits so strongly on that experience, the universal experience of women, regardless of the specifics.
Exactly.
It's so touching and so powerful. And the example of, regardless of how everyone else is handling this same crushing pressure, there are ways to rise above. And I think you're a testament to that, right? You have been under that same crushing pressure and you did not get crushed. And you have created this beautiful film. I can't speak highly enough, but as someone who was able to do so and brought this beautiful creation to life despite all of these things trying to hold you down and keep you quiet, to your point, what would you say to creators or just women who are feeling that pressure and maybe saying like I am Rose, as you said.
I'm not gonna lie, it is very tough when you literally are the only person clapping in an empty room. It got to the point where it was like I really didn't think, like, this drove me to a point where I was like, I don't even want to be here anymore. Like, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go kill myself. It was more of like the unjust and the unfairness of this situation. But then you look around like nothing's fair, Jennifer. And it's like, why are we doing this? Why are we women are half of the population. Are we still here? Like it just was so, and but then there was so many other things as well that went on with this. And the only thing I could say, I have, and I think everybody has it. You have something in you that you're born with that you need to do. I need to express and connect through art. I need it. And all you have to do is know that that's your truth and listen to no one else. When they say, you can't do that, you're not going to do that, that'll never happen, you're going to stop, that's going to go. Because the world will make you try and stop. The world. And even your closest allies, you think, like look at Francine and Rose.
Right.
Sometimes people can't see past their own fear. You have to literally do this and put the goal out in front and say, I know what I'm capable of. I know what I'm being told to do. I need to going, keep going. And every single day, I would get up and say, what's one thing I can do to move closer to the goal? One thing to move closer to the goal. It's not an easy road, but it is one of the best things you'll ever do for yourself. Absolutely.
Well, that's very empowering. This is something you kind of talk about in your rebellious life. I don't know, a series or a movement.
It's going to be a Substack. It's going to be my new website. All my classes are under that. And it's
Mhm.
really talking about anyone who's reached outside of the norm to live the way they think they should be, or do a project like I've done, or anything that pushes you to go beyond what you're being told of who you are, what you are, your capacity, all of it.
I've been watching all of those videos as they come up, and it's just, it is so empowering to realize there are so many ways that rebellion can look like. There are moments where rebellion is, outward and it is using your voice and it is getting out there. And then there are quiet moments of rebellion where it is
Right.
existing
That's
and
right.
resting, right? And
Right, that's right. And I always I've been saying, especially now, because I people do automatically go to rebellion, and that's loud and proud, and I have lived in that space, but I have to be honest, to really digest what has gone on with this film, I had to accept what was, stop pushing against for what should be or what I
mm,
think should be, and accept and know that no amount of injustice or inequality or persecution or oppression or anything from anywhere could take your spirit. And that is a true act of rebellion, to be able to get up and still know who you are and smile and enjoy the day right there. That is your biggest act of rebellion you can ever have, ever have.
that's incredible.
Mhm.
So, where can they see your movie right now?
It's right now, I believe it's still on Amazon, but on February 7th, it comes to Hulu. So
Awesome.
that's really cool. It's coming up very soon. So February 7th, it comes to Hulu. And I really still I ask everybody who watches it to, like you did, and I appreciate it, go online, go on social media, talk about it, because the amount of people who still don't know it exists breaks my heart. And it deserves to be seen, but you also, people deserve to see it. So if you can go out and talk about it and post about it, I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's February 7th on Hulu. And then you can also find me at rebelliousAct.com right now and all my socials and stuff because I'm always teaching. I do classes on fresh kills. It's, a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, I'd love the support for the film.
And I promise you, when you see it, all you have to do is put it on. Once you get there and you see it, you will be moved by it. You will be changed by it as someone who was, and you'll want to talk about it. It's important to support women. It's important to use our voices in a positive way. And I'm so proud of your film. I'm so touched by it. I'm honored to be speaking with you today and to be able to share this time with you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. It seriously, when people are excited about the film, it really makes up for, the times that I feel like it was forgotten. And so I really appreciate that.
Well, it is my pleasure. We won't forget it, and let's get more people watching it, please. All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Jennifer, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you to everybody who's listening, and we will see you next episode.